So with that said, I think it's time to kind of go over the card for Wrestle Kingdom 14. So this year, it takes place at the Tokyo Dome, like it always does, in Tokyo, Japan, and it's it's January 4th, which is traditionally the date of every Tokyo Dome Wrestle Kingdom show. It's always January 4th, no matter what time of what day of the week it is, which is kind of crazy to think about. You'd have to take a Tuesday off, or a Wednesday. This year, it's basically a weekend. But there's a lot of times, it's a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. And I'm on the East Coast in Pittsburgh. So if I wanted to watch it live, I believe it starts at, I think it's 2 or 3 in the morning, which there's no way I'm going to be able to watch it live. That's just crazy. I'd love to. I have so much other stuff going on right now, or I would. And they're 5-hour shows-ish probably. So you got those 2 in a row. It's 4th and then the 5th. And they're both in the Tokyo Dome. So they're going to be crazy. And it kind of has an overarching story, which is going to be cool. For the first time ever, there will actually be a unified champion between their IWGP Heavyweight Champion and their Intercontinental Championship. So what it is the first night, there's championship matches for both belts. Kazuchika Okada will fight Kota Ibushi for the IWGP Heavyweight title. And then the winner of that will face the Intercontinental Championship match winner between Jay White and Tetsuya Naito. Both matches, I think, are going to be probably I'm going to say top 4 matches of the weekend, or of those 2 shows. Okada to Ibushi will be insane. For Ibushi's just going to go all out, and a lot of people think he might beat Okada, who's the champion. I don't know. If he wins, then that's going to be interesting. I don't know if Ibushi would win that. Okada's the best wrestler going today, and if not top 5 in the entire world. I like Ibushi. I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's Okada level, but maybe this is the way to push him, to make him the next star. Even though Okada kind of is the next star, because he's still young. I don't even think he started. I think he's 29. So I think he's got 5 years of being on top. But also Okada's title reign, I believe, is the 4th longest in New Japan ever, which is it's over a year. So maybe they're thinking it's time for a change. My idea would have been Tetsuya Naito winning that belt. I guess it would be January 5th. He would beat Jay White for the Intercontinental title on the 4th of January, and then beating Okada in my head the next day on the 5th. I think that Naito's still got a lot of upswing in terms of his marketability, and not just in Japan, but in the U.S. as well. I know that he's been banged up a lot, and he's had to kind of slow down. So that may play some into it, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure. But I think he's got a lot of marketability across the world. And with New Japan and American expansion and so forth, I would see that as a big asset. Not that Ibushi couldn't be a big star across the world, but Naito's just got such a cool character it's just awesome. Maybe it's just me. Honestly, I don't think Jay White's going to win. I think the other 3 all have a chance. I think Okada could have a chance of coming out with all the belts, Naito and Ibushi. A lot of the Americans that I read on posts online and Facebook and forums and such really believe that it's going to be Ibushi. And it could be. I mean, it very well could be. But I don't know. I think that those 3 matches, the 2 matches on the 4th and then the unification match on the 5th, are going to be the 3 of the top 4, right? I think that's pretty obvious. And then I think that the 4th match of the entire weekend is basically going to be Hiromu Takahashi's big return match. Technically, he has wrestled matches recently in tag matches, but I think that it's in between him, and it's going to be him and Will Ospreay on night 1. that I think is going to be the big fourth match in terms of like what people are really going to be looking for. Because it's, from what it seems like so far, Takahashi is the old Takahashi. I think that with this being his big return match, it's going to be insane. That's just putting it lightly, to be honest. It's going to be balls to the wall. It's going to be like a pinball game between Ospreay and Takahashi. And if anyone hasn't watched either one of them, just Google them. You'll just go on YouTube, type in either one of their names, and you'll just see 1,000 matches with them. Anything with Ospreay and Ricochet from WWE when he was in New Japan, they're amazing. Takahashi's had matches with those guys, plenty of other guys. That match, I think, could end up being a show stealer. A lot of people are talking about it because of it being a return, but I think that match is going to end up could being a show stealer even from the other big matches, because I think that when your career is on the line, in that you know that you get a second chance on life, and second chance in your career. Takahashi had a broken neck. He could have died. He could have been paralyzed. Look at a lot of these other wrestlers recently. Mitsuharu Masao's unfortunate passing. You've had Tomoaki Honma injury, right? That almost killed him. Yoshihiro Takayama has had a lot of issues. And then you have, a lot of the American wrestlers, right? Daniel Bryan, all the concussions and all that kind of stuff. And, go all the way back to Steve Austin and broken neck, and Hardcore Holly and his real bad broken neck that everyone remembers against Brock Lesnar. When it's a return, and it's for a return for a big wrestler like that, you never really know how long you're going to be at your best the rest of your career. And you usually have to change your style. Steve Austin had to change his style when Owen Hart dropped him on his head. And he had to become more of a brawler. Thankfully, he got a new lease on life just because of his character and his style of wrestling when he went to be just a brawler, more of a punch-kick guy afterwards. Actually worked out. I actually like it more. I think it fit his attitude a lot. And Takahashi, I think, knows that he's probably going to have to change his style, which leads to the next guy is Jushin Liger, the last two matches of his. And he had to change his style over the years because of being beat up. And he never had the serious injury of Takahashi, but the years of just doing the insane, cruiserweight, light heavyweight type matches. And, he was, if not the creator, an early pioneer of the shooting star press, landing on his knees constantly. He had to stop doing that years ago. He had to stop doing a lot of that kind of stuff. He had to really slow down his pace, and he had to. I mean, he's 52, I believe, and he's got 2 tag matches this weekend or coming up. He's got it's him, Tatsumi Fujinami, the Great Sasuke, and Tiger Mask with El Samurai in their corner against Naoki Sano, Shinjiro Otani, Tetsuhito Takaiwa, and Ryusuke Taguchi, with Kuniaki Kobayashi in their corner on night 1, which is going to be one of those fun, like, throwback matches where you get to see a lot of old guys that, they can't go as good as they can. But you know what? I can't tell you the last time I watched Fujinami or Great Sasuke wrestle. Otani, I watched wrestle some at WrestleMania weekend. He was on a bunch of shows. I always loved Taguchi. I think Taguchi is highly underrated as the comedy light heavyweight guy who used to be a more of a more traditional light heavyweight guy, and he had to change his career up because he's getting older as well. But I really like him. I think that match will be fun. It's going to be one of those fun, it's coming to an end things. It's like you're along for the ride. And then night 2 with him is the same idea as well. Basically, it's just another type of a tag match where it's him and Sano with Yoshiaki Fujiwara in their corner against Ryu Lee, the former Dragon Lee, and then Hiromu Takahashi. That match will probably be the better of the two in terms of match quality, but and it'll also be known as the last match of Liger, so it's going to have that going forward as well. But The first match will be fun for that, like, kind of throwback, and also it's a lot of Liger's friends. That's going to be really fun. I think there's going to be a really cool just kind of feeling for that match. The second one's going to be more of a traditional just match. It's just he's got a final match. Here's his final match. It's going to be great, and for all we know, Liger may do one or two more final moves that he hasn't done in a long time, or try something crazy, because you know what? Let's throw a plancha and a couple dives or something. It's the last match. He's done. The next night they have what's called New Year's Dash, which is kind of their Raw after WrestleMania, and that's they're having like a retirement ceremony for him that night. That's one of the big events. So to be honest, I think you're going to see two different types of Ligers. You're going to see the kind of slowed down Liger. He's going to have fun in the ring. It's going to be competitive, but it's going to be fun. And then you're going to have the competitive Liger in the final match. And since he's in a tag match, he doesn't have to do as much as a singles match, which would be a lot harder for him. Even though it's funny to me, when I think of a wrestler's final match, I always would think of a tag match or a singles match, unless they're a tag team that were retiring, just because that's, maybe that's the American style in me. Whereas the Japanese style is you work your way down the card, you end up in tag matches at the end of your career. Look at Tenzan, Satoshi Kojima, they're in a tag team together. Their prime was 10, 15 years ago, but now they still can wrestle, but they have to do tag team matches on the starts of these cards, which is what they're doing. And then there's still two more really big matches on this card. There is, on night 2, it is Chris Jericho versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. It's basically a dream match. You have the Tanahashi, who was the guy that brought back the resurgence of New Japan. And in some ways, maybe he's the Japanese GOAT. And then you have the American GOAT, Chris Jericho. Name me another wrestler in the last 30 years that has been in so many different promotions on the top, been the show stealer, and has done as much as him. It's hard, and he's reinvented himself 1,000 times. Tanahashi even came out recently and said that if he wins, he wants a shot at the AEW title, which, from what the rumor is that he just said it. And then Jericho's like, fine, you'll get that title shot if you win. Everyone's saying, Tanahashi just made it up. I'm really starting to wonder if that was a plant on purpose. Now, it could have been a plant from Tanahashi, could have been a plant from Jericho. Jericho is known to kind of do things, hint at things. Even though he didn't do it, it doesn't mean he didn't tell them, hey, let's work a deal out, let's do something. And New Japan hasn't really done a lot with ROH in a long while. Honestly, I think it's been like almost a year since I think they've really had any of those like When Worlds Collides matches, or not matches, but shows with them and like ROH. ROH used to have a match on the Wrestle Kingdom show, and the Wrestle Kingdom was only one night, and they still had a match that was from ROH. But yet, we got 2 nights now, not a single ROH match, and we get a Stardom match, which is it's a women's wrestling organization owned by Bushiroad, who owns New Japan, and now it may not be televised, but still the idea that they will have that, but they won't even have an ROH match, that's pretty significant, I think. I think that New Japan, I think, may end up making a deal with AEW. That's it. It's a prediction. This is a 2020 prediction. By the end of the year, ROH and New Japan will have a working relationship. It's beneficial to both, totally. They could even do a whole pay-per-view here at AEW where it could be AEW versus New Japan, kind of like WCW did back in the mid-'90s, I believe. And every match on the card was back then it was a WCW versus New Japan guy. And that's kind of like where that's around the time, maybe a little earlier, when I saw Jushin Liger or Masahiro Chono, one of my other favorite wrestlers. So maybe they could do something like that. And to be honest, everyone would want that pay-per-view. I would want that more than any of the other pay-per-views they do. Not that their other pay-per-views are bad, but that would, you get to see Omega with New Japan again. The Young Bucks would be there. Pentagon. And then the other guy who's been wrestling in both, Jon Moxley, who actually is wrestling Lance Archer in a Texas death match at Wrestle Kingdom, I believe it's night 1, and that is for the U.S. Championship. So I think there's a chance that Mox wins, and he'll be champion, which would be for the second time because he had to forfeit it the last time because he had the, I think it was a staph infection in his arm or something real bad. It was real rough. Like, that's pretty gross. Staph infections, you can't mess around with those. And I think we might see it. I think that there's a good chance that we see Mox win, Jericho lose. That could set up 2 matches for a New Japan AEW card, or some kind of relationship. Maybe, because maybe Moxley could defend the U.S. Championship in an AEW match, and then Jericho would fight Tanahashi on the main bill of that card. I think that would be a way to build a code-branded show. And AEW announced their next pay-per-view. That's in February. And they do them every quarter. So let's see. February is usually about 3 months afterwards. So March, April, May. They could have a May pay-per-view, which New Japan doesn't have any real major shows in May. That's kind of right before the G1. They could have a May pay-per-view, and it would be AEW versus New Japan or something like that. They can't call it When the Worlds Collide because WWE's got that name, but they could come up with something. And it would be, the main bill would be Tanahashi versus Jericho for the AEW title, and then Mox versus maybe a Japanese wrestler for the U.S. title. And then you could have the IWGP defended. You could have that against Omega if you wanted. You could have that even against someone that maybe isn't ever really been in New Japan. You could even maybe have it against like an MJF or someone like that, someone kind of different. I don't think Cody ever wrestled for the IWGP title, so you could do that. So maybe something like that. There's a cool way you could do this card that I think could work out and would be beneficial to both. And attendance has been a little weaker with AEW recently because it's down across the board for everyone. I think this could be a way for both companies to get a little boost in attendance. And New Japan just lost their TV show on Access, which means they don't have as much exposure to America, so it's going to be harder for them to run shows here, including their American division that they have that's just starting right now. This is kind of a way to kind of integrate a lot of things, and it could work. But back to the actual Wrestle Kingdom cards, we still have a lot more matches on here. I'm not going to hit everything because there's quite a lot, but basically, let me tell you, we have, the traditional 8-man tag matches. They're basically the matches to get ready on the card. Los Ingobernables de Japón will verse my favorite group, Suzuki-gun, with Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., and El Desperado. Anyone out there who's never watched Minoru Suzuki wrestle needs to watch him wrestle. He's like a 60s, 70s shoot-style wrestler mixed with some martial arts. He's been in MMA before, and he's just a badass. He just beats the crap out of people. He just looks like he wouldn't take anybody's crap, too. Check out his Instagram page. He's actually seems like he's a pretty nice guy. And his group is just like, they're like a Japanese mafia, like the Yakuza type almost. Like they nonsense. They beat the crap out of people. They have their own cool style. They have some of the best wrestlers in the world with Zack Sabre Jr., probably one of the best technical wrestlers in the world. Then you have some flair like Taichi. He gets a lot of flack. I actually like Taichi. He's like a dramatic, almost like a J-Rock guy, like one of those like flamboyant, like 80s hair metal type characters. He's got the hair, he's got the look, he sings on the way to the ring. He's got some cool stuff. That's going to be a good match. There's up and down the card. The Bullet Club, which most people don't care about much anymore because most of the main guys are gone. But Kenta, who is Hideo Itami, is with Bullet Club now. They're in one of the 8-man tag matches. They're against Chaos. The Guerrillas of Destiny fight Fit Finley's son David and Juice Robinson for the IWGP tag title. That's pretty much it for night 1. Night 2's more like 8-man tag type matches and tag matches, and then they have a never open weight 6-man tag match. It's kind of a gauntlet. It's kind of a way to get everybody on the show. So you're going to see a lot of wrestlers on that second night, kind of all in one match. Zack Sabre Jr. will fight Sonata for the British Heavyweight Championship, which is another thing that shows that they don't like to work with New Japan because I can't remember which league that is. I want to say it's I can't remember which British league that is, but they are Revolution Pro. That's it, Rev Pro. Yeah. So they're still having British Heavyweight Championship matches, but they can't get one single match on there for ROH, which is funny. I mean, PCO's their champion, which would have been crazy to see PCO in a New Japan ring. Anyone who hasn't watched PCO needs to watch PCO. He's like a Frankenstein type gimmick. And the guy's, God, he's got to be 50. He was wrestling when I was a kid. When I was a little tyke eating my graham crackers in front of a TV, that was him. He was there wrestling as a pirate. He wrestled as, I think, one of the Quebecers, the kind of like Mounties. He's been in it forever. Now he's reinvented himself. It would have been kind of fun, and also it would have been a cool story for him to be able to get to a New Japan ring in his 50s. He could have wrestled just another ROH guy. You know, it was like a spotlight match. You know, it could have been a 10-minute long match. It didn't even be anything nuts, but here we are. We're in a world where that's still not happening, which just makes me wonder that there is some conflict. ROH couldn't sell out a basement right now. Literally, you're talking 200-300 people, no different than any other normal independent show that has a good crowd. So I don't know. I think another prediction might be is ROH might be out of business at the end of the year. I think they might do studio shows if like an NXT type, because I don't know if they can afford to be running all around the country as they do right now. When they they came to Pittsburgh recently at Stage 80, and it's a couple hundred people maybe. I think they might have sold 200 tickets. That's pretty rough. I know they're ran by a billion-dollar company, but there's a point where you just say no. Even if they're making money, we all work for companies, or even if they're making money, if it's not enough money, it doesn't matter. See you later. So that's pretty much it for the entire card. I mean, obviously the main event of the second night is basically going to be the unification match for the titles. Jericho and Tanahashi are the second match. And anyone not accustomed to New Japan, they don't do buffer matches. It basically just kind of works its way up the card. They may have one or two hot matches at the start, but not really. But basically kind of works its way up the card from least important to most important. So that's why you'll see, and I'm sure people will complain, but Liger's final match is the second match listed on the card right now. So if they continue that way, that means Liger's retirement is the second match in. So, and then you still got another 4 hours of matches. So we'll see. I don't think that'll change because there's a lot of matches on these cards that are just ridiculous. So it's going to be a fun time. Anyone who wants it, you can go to New Japan World and get it. It's 9.99 yen, which is just a play on the WB network. So I think it's, I don't know, $9, 8 something. You know, depending on the conversion rate, you can use PayPal. It translates into English on the website. You can use an Amazon Fire TV. They do have an app. I wish they had one for like the Roku and all that stuff. You can watch it on a computer, obviously, your phone. I've watched it both ways like that before. The Amazon Fire app's not bad, but it's gonna be worth it. You're getting $10 for $10. Let's say $9. You're getting 10 hours of wrestling in 2 nights. You're gonna get 75 cents an hour of what'll probably end up being. You'll probably see 2 or 3 of the top 10 matches of the year in 2 nights, and that's not including you get to see Liger's retirement. There's always some fun stuff, like the Moxley match with Archer might just be insane. It's a Texas death match. I mean, that could be chaotic. You're going to see that stuff. You also get New Year's Dash. Like I said, it's their Raw after Mania. This year, they actually put it in a bigger building. They usually have it, I believe, in Korakuen Stadium. And I think this one now is like a 5,000-seat stadium. The other one's only like 1,000 or 2. So I think they're expecting a bigger crowd. I think that if there's any kind of surprises, that's when the surprises happen. That's when Minoru Suzuki came back. that's when you have some other people kind of, or like you'll see like who's going to challenge for the title now, because this is going to be a blow off to a lot of feuds. There's a lot of blow off for all the top 2 title things. Who's going to go for are they going to unify the belts officially? Like, is this going to be a permanent thing? This is where New Year's Dash kind of solidifies what New Japan's going to do for the next, basically told Wrestle Kingdom. It's a lot like WrestleMania. But also kind of solidifies the amazing G1 tournament. You start to see some of the players slide into roles and where they're going to be and who they might fight and what matches to look out for. And it's a fun show. It's not as long. They all have English commentary, too. So you get Kevin Kelly's brilliant English commentary. He was born for New Japan. It's funny. No one really thought anything ever highly of him in WWE. ROH was pretty good, but New Japan, that's him. That he works best in that environment. Maybe they have free reign. I can see any American promotion just going, but you need to do this, need to do that. And the WWE, obviously, we know now they're just bonkers. But this, they really know how to just let people be themselves, whether it's wrestlers, commentators, anything. And you get a lot of insights. I believe we might see, I think it's Chris Charlton might be one of the color commentators. He's British and he knows Japanese, so he can translate things on the fly, which is amazing. So you get a lot of cool insight on what they're saying in Japanese and then what's happening. It's definitely like a sports with a lot of it's sports mixed with a little of that old Howard Cosell Japanese screaming attitude that when like a Spanish a Mexican soccer league, when the guy scores a goal, if something crazy happens, they go crazy, and it has a lot of excitement. And I honestly I couldn't recommend it more. I look forward to this more than WrestleMania, because I know that the matches will be good, even if I don't necessarily agree with every outcome. I know the matches are going to be good. I know there's not going to be there's no backstage skits. It's just matches. Match ends, the guy walked to the back, commentators talk, and then it's the bell rings, ready for the next match, bring them out. And you get cool entrances. It's just like WrestleMania. You get all without all the stupid fluff. No dumb celebrities, all that stuff. Check it out. It's worth the money. I don't care if you haven't watched it before. I think you'll still have fun. You don't need to go into it. Hopefully I explained a little bit of the behind the scenes of maybe, if you were an ROH fan or AEW fan. I think there's something for everyone. I mean, you got AEW guys on it. You got former WWE guys on it. So there's, enough for everybody there.